Road Witch, written by RoseBlack2222. In my defense, I'm usually an extremely careful driver. Just ask anyone who's ridden with me. They'll tell you I follow all traffic laws to the letter and I only exceed the speed limit by a few miles. I'm only explaining all this to convey that what happened wasn't due to any sort of reckless disregard on my part. What it really boiled down to was me being in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong person. In this case, a witch. That's right, a witch. She had the hat on and everything. I didn't think they genuinely existed, but apparently, that seems to be the case. And I suffered her full wrath one night, a couple months ago. I was getting back from an appointment. Took me like 2 hours to get there with traffic, and the appointment itself took another 3. When it was over, I wanted to get home as fast as possible. Here's where trouble began to rear its ugly head. First off, it was raining, and Google Maps wasn't working right, and yes, I always make sure it's up to date. Anyway, it kept losing its signal. Maybe it was because I was doing through a lot of tunnels? In any case, I didn't have a clue where to go. This may have been manageable in the daytime. Night, though, is another matter. Which brings me to the next thing, which was that it was too dark for me to read the signs. I don't know what it is with the lack of streetlights on that highway, but that needs to change ASAP. I kept driving with only a vague idea of where I was headed. Every so often, I would glance at my phone to see if the app was working right. I even reset my phone to no avail. Before you say anything about using my phone while driving, there weren't any other cars on the road. At least, not up until then. Honestly, she came out of nowhere. Her car was black, plus her taillights weren't even working right, so how was anyone supposed to have been prepared for that situation? I didn't even notice her until my headlights illuminated her bumper. And by then, I was already too close. I tried slamming on my brakes. However, upon realizing my car wouldn't stop in time, I swerved and hit the gas to pass her. In the process, my side mirror scraped her car. I was going to stop and offer to pay for her paint job. Then I checked the rear view and saw that she was taking another route. I felt bad, but thought that was the end of the matter. I was wrong. It was only the start of what was going to be the worst hour and a half of my life. About 10 minutes after the almost accident, I noticed a pair of headlights in my mirror. This didn't concern me until I realized they were going way too fast. Thinking they were just in a hurry, I changed lanes to let them pass. They switched with me, and now I was getting concerned. Figuring they must be drunk or something, I sped up to lose them. In response, they did the same thing and slammed into my bumper. "What the hell?" I yelled. They hit me again, and now I was getting pissed, which I'll have you know is a very rare thing for me. Everyone has their limits though, and I'd reached mine. They came up behind me again, and this time, I got in another lane before they could hit me again. Then, I jerked my wheel, slamming into their car. It was only then that I saw who this person was. A long, wart-covered nose, accompanied by scraggly gray hair, a pointy hat, sickly yellow eyes, and an extremely pissed-off expression turned to face me. "You'll pay for that!" she screamed, pointing a long, dirty nail at me.
I have ways of getting back at people who don't show their elders respect.
My mouth dropped open, and I squinted my eyes in confusion. I didn't think she was a real witch at first. However, she certainly looked like one. I quickly got over my shock and replied, "Look, what happened back there was an honest mistake. If we stop this now, we can forget this all happened, and I'm sorry." Despite me not feeling that the initial cause of all that was my fault, I wanted to end the incident without any more trouble.
"You should be," she said. "And you should learn to watch where you're going."
"Well," I replied, trying to keep from getting irritated, "next time, it would help if your taillights worked."
"There you go again, blaming someone else. It's not my fault you're blind as a bat, and you have some nerve, shirking responsibility onto a poor old woman like me."
"Then why the hell are you even driving?" Based on how wide her eyes got, I immediately knew that that was the wrong thing to say. If I said she didn't take it well, that wouldn't do it justice. She went ballistic.
"How dare you?" she hissed at me. "For that, you'll know my wrath."
I braced myself for her to hit my car again. Instead, she did something far worse. She pulled something from her glove compartment, an old leathery book covered in runes.
"I'm always prepared in case I run into people like you."
She started muttering something I couldn't understand. She seemed to be in some kind of trance. Seeing as how she was driving at the time, I wasn't about to stick around. I took the opportunity to leave her in the dust, so to speak. When her headlights disappeared from my rear view, I once again foolishly thought that that was the end of the matter. I breathed a sigh of relief, only to see her headlights yet again. I groaned. Clearly, this woman wasn't mentally well. That's when I remembered my cell phone. I was going to call the police. Then when I checked my mirror again, I dropped it in shock. What I was seeing couldn't be real, could it? Turns out, it was. Some noticeable changes had occurred to the woman's car. Most notably, it was now on fire. Blue wisps that were souls circled around it. The feeling I was experiencing then was akin to how someone must feel when they realize that they've accidentally woken up a famished lion. I was determined to lose her at all cost. Unfortunately, my car could only go so fast. She caught up with ease and pulled up in the adjacent lane. When she looked at me again, I saw that her face was now even more sunken in, with her hair moving like wriggling worms. Her eyes were all black, and she grinned with red-stained, pointed teeth.
"Thought you could get away, did you?" she asked.
"I'm sorry," was all I could manage to stutter out in response.
"It's too late for that. Now, suffer my wrath."
She pointed again, and some of the souls flew at my car. I cursed as one popped up in front of me, showing the face of someone who died with shards of glass in their eyes. Another appeared to have died from being impaled based on the fact that one of their eyes was missing, showing only an empty socket trickling blood. I understood then that they must have been people who died because of that woman. And if I did too, I would become part of her soul collection.
"You'll make a fine addition!"
She cackled. Her mouth stretched open wide, and a long flame shot from it. Screaming, I moved away quickly, forgetting about the concrete wall separating the opposite lanes. I cursed and attempted to pull away. She hit my car again, sandwiching me in. Her car must have been strengthened by black magic, because I couldn't make her budge, no matter how hard I tried.
"Nobody escapes me," she declared. "Now, you'll join the souls of all those other bastards."
She was about to breathe fire once more. I braced myself for a burning death. Then, the highway ended, and I could move my car away. Unfortunately, I did this too fast and ended up going off the road. My car flipped downhill several times before coming to an upside-down stop in a muddy pond. Groaning, I grabbed my cell phone and crawled out my busted driver's window. I collapsed in pain. I tilted my head up to find the witch staring down at me.
"Serves you right,"
she yelled down at me.
"Now to end this."
She raised her hands. Fire swirled around them, and I closed my eyes, thinking I was going to be consumed by flame.
"Oh, damn."
I opened my eyes. She was holding a pocket watch.
"I'm late feeding my cat."
She glared down at me.
"You were lucky this time, but if you ever mess with me again, I'll make sure you won't escape a second time."
She got in her car and drove off. I managed to dial the police through my emergency call right before passing out. They sent someone out to investigate, and I woke up later in the hospital. They asked me what happened, and I told them I was run off the road, which technically wasn't wrong. Something peculiar happened when they inquired about the car's description. I couldn't remember the model, only that it was a colored black. Maybe it's some kind of curse she has on it, or the accident messed up parts of my memory. They're investigating another pair of tire tracks at the scene. One officer mentioned an odd find to me, and that was the metal left behind from the wreckage seemed to have come from various cars. Each one was a different color. I'm not sure what that means. However, I know it can't be anything good, and for their sake, I hope those officers never find that woman. If you ever find her and make her mad, the best advice I can give is put the pedal to the metal.